our first episode of Mermaid Makeup Monday, and we are starting off with a pink look. So for Barbie mermaids, or for any of your pink tails such as the Finfolk Malibu, the Finbella Azalea, or even the upcoming Finbella Run that's coming out, or really any kind of pink tails that you guys might like, you can definitely do this look with. And in this video, I'm going to go over it with you all and show you step by step. So I can say that this did last through a full mermaid gig in the pool. If you want to see how to get this mermaid makeup look, just keep watching and let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments down below, or what tails that you want to see me do makeup for next. So to get started, you always want to make sure that your face is primed, and I've already primed my face. I started off with the Thayer's Hydrating Toner, and then I like to use this serum here. It is Astura, I believe is the brand. I like to use this along with the Thirst Drops from e.l.f. I do have dry skin in case you're curious like what my skin texture is. Also using this Bioma, I believe is the brand. It's a barrier treatment. It is a moisturizer, but it does help with the skin's barrier for moisture, so that's why I like to use that one. And then I also have primed my lips, or prepped my lips, with the Laneige lip mask. So now that the skin is prepped, I do not always start with the face first, nor do I always start with the eyes first. Like sometimes I jump around however I'm feeling for the day. The TikTok video that I filmed for this, I did start with my eyes first. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start with my face first this time. If you're worried about fallout, I would suggest starting with the eyes first. That way you don't have to worry about it like messing with your foundation or anything, and you can just like wipe it away. So currently I'm not married to any of the primers that I use. I have used the e.l.f. Grip Primer. I have used the NYX Face Glue Primer. I've used several different face primers. I'm not married to one yet. When I find my holy grail one, I will definitely let you all know. Today we're going to use the NYX Face Glue Primer on this look. If you guys follow me in the Finfolk Pod Squad, I did post some pictures from a birthday that I did. It was a pool birthday, so I was in water. This is gonna be the exact makeup that I used for that, and my makeup stayed on literally flawlessly, and that was in a chlorine pool. I would think that this will stay on pretty dang well in other bodies of water if it can handle the chlorine. And always make sure your hands are clean, because you are touching your face and your pores, so that is a big step that sometimes people just don't think about. Like they'll just go into doing makeup without washing their hands first. So I always recommend that, especially if you are more acne prone, blemish prone. Now we're just going to start with the foundation and just slap this all over. You can use a foundation brush or a sponge. I'm really not super particular one way or the other. It just depends on my mood, honestly. And I don't get too close up under my under eye, because I do put my concealer there. The less texture that you have on your under eye, the better. And I do recommend blending this down into your neck. If y'all are curious what I'm looking at, I have my little cosmetic mirror right here, like right out of frame on the camera. So I usually just get one good base coat of that all over and then let it dry for just a couple seconds. And then I'll go in wherever I feel like I need a little bit more coverage, which for me is normally in my cheek area, and I will add a little bit more coverage there, or another layer. So now that we have the foundation on, I'm gonna go in with my concealer, and I apply this very generously, to say the least. So I like to apply it down the bridge of my nose just to give a little bit more emphasis on a highlight there, because the concealer that I am using is lighter than my foundation. I do like to do a little bit of concealer here. Then I go in right under where my contour will go, just to emphasize that a little bit more from this side, and that's what that's gonna look like. We're just gonna use that exact same beauty blender and blend it out. So the nose area, I do use a brush to blend that out, because I don't want it to separate or move any more than where I have it placed. So I do just lightly blend that in with a brush and like tap it out like that. Okay, so now we have that done. I am gonna go in with the cream bronzer. I am just going to use a angled fluffy brush for that. I think this is a natural hair brush. I would probably recommend synthetic with a cream, and I'm gonna start back towards the back and then work that color and pigment forward, and then in an upward motion, so I'm not dragging my face down as I'm applying this. And just the same thing on the other side. For me, I like to have a nice contoured jawline. So where I place this is underneath and at the back here to kind of emphasize my jawline. And then just blending that out, creating a shadow there. I'm trying to like look in my mirror and then look in the viewfinder to kind of see what you guys are seeing on the camera. This side is gonna look a little bit more washed out than this side because I do have natural light coming in from over there. So this side is getting hit with a little bit more light. So as you can see here, this is what that's gonna kind of look like there. We are gonna go in with the cream blush. With cream blush, they're usually quite pigmented, so I wouldn't recommend using a ton of it. You can see this is my placement here. It's definitely a product you can work with. You can also put it on the back of your hand and work it in with a brush that way. And then I'm using a fluffy brush to tap that out and back and up. This is really pigmented, and for me personally, when I'm doing makeup for mermaiding, I do go a little bit heavier with it. It will soften a lot in the water. That is my personal strategy. And again, that is a trial and error thing for sure. There are cream products. So the next thing I like to do is go in with the powder product. So we're gonna use the Juvia's Place that we talked about earlier. I'm gonna use another angled brush, but a different one because I don't want to use my cream product into my powder product because that can cause an issue with like an oily layer on top of the powder product. And if that happens, then that's whenever you're like, I can't get any product off of this. It's because it's got like an oily layer. It can be said for that. If you have like a powder foundation that you use and say it's a puff that you use with it, if you leave the puff on top, a lot of the times that will happen. So I used to see that a lot when I worked at counter. And so I'm just using this literally everywhere. And then I do also like to put a little bit on my forehead. I have a pretty petite forehead, so it doesn't need a lot of contouring. So I just like to add a little bit up there. And then we go in with the powdered bronzer. Again, another fluffy brush, but not the same one that we use for the cream product. I like fluffy brushes just because I am a little bit heavier handed, so it does help kind of counter me being a little bit more heavy handed with my makeup. And this is very trust the process, trust the process. So then we're gonna use that L'Oreal Infallible Blur Powder, and I'm going to use that with a powder puff, I guess is what you call this. I just get a lot off of Amazon. And like I said, everything I have will be linked down below. So I really tap this in on my under eyes, all the way up to the side of my nose, and then just down the top of my nose where I did have that concealer. I keep looking at the viewfinder because I can see what I'm seeing in the mirror, but I'm trying to see what you guys are seeing on the camera. So basically anywhere that I didn't set with the powder bronzer or the powder blush. And this also does help to tone down like this area here. I went a little crazy, and so I'll tone it down a little bit with them. Now that we have done all of that, we are going to move on to the eyes. And this is where I use a couple of other products that aren't drugstore, but I'm not married to them. So if you have a drugstore dupe, definitely let me know in the comments down below. They're just products I already had, so I'm using them until they run out. First one is going to be the Anastasia Brow Pomade. So when I'm doing my eyes, I always start with my eyebrows. And yes, it does look kind of crazy at first, but it definitely is a trust the process moment. So I'm going to go in and do those. And it looks crazy, but trust me, it will come together. So I'm gonna do the other one off camera and then come back. So now I'm going to use the MAC Pro Longwear Paint Pot. And I'm gonna use this to clean up my eyebrows, but this is also going to be the base for our eyeshadow. You can see how that immediately makes the brows look a little less crazy. Sometimes it's okay to be a little messy, you just gotta clean it up. We're gonna go into the eyes now. So for eyes, I always recommend a fluffy brush, then a little bit of a tapered brush. So this is still fluffy, but it's like tapered. It's not like round, if that makes sense. And then you want a flat brush for like packing the eyeshadow on or doing the lower lash line. So that is what I have here, and that's what we're gonna be doing most of this look with. But I think that you can do quite a bit with just those 3 brushes. You don't need a ton of brushes. I definitely have a lot just because I did professional makeup for so long. You can get by with those 3 for most projects. So we are gonna start off with the Jawbreaker palette. Again, there are many ways to do this. This is how I do my eyeshadow. So I'm going to teach you guys the way that I know how to do it. And I am just gonna start off with, you can pick what you want for your brow. You can either do a matte or a shimmery shade, either one. I am probably gonna do the matte white on this just because the rest of it is gonna have a lot of shimmer, so we want to kind of switch up the texture to where it's not all super shimmery. Unless you like that, that's totally fine. Like, makeup is meant to be played with, so you do what makes you happy, but I'm just starting that off under my brow bone to get that highlight in there with that lighter shade. And again, using a flat brush to pack that color in. And this is what that's gonna look like. And then you want to go in with a blending shade, and in the Jawbreaker palette there is this light pink here. This color is called Good Morning. So I'm going to use that with a fluffy brush, and I'm going to start to where that's soft and blend the crease out. This gives us a gradient effect on the color. This is also a matte pink. I do prefer to blend the crease out with a matte. Again, you don't normally want to have every single thing be shimmery unless that is the specific look that you're going for. So I like to do my highlight and my blending shade normally with a more matte or maybe even a satin, just not something that's going to be super shimmery. And as you can tell, that's a really soft pink. Again, we're just mainly using that for blending purposes and just to give us kind of a seamless look there. Now I'm going to use the shade Bubblegum here, and I'm going to use that tapered blending brush. This is the one that I used last time as well. And starting at the back, starting towards the end of your eye here and in the crease, I do have hooded eyes, so you can kind of find it by like where you can insert the brush, and I'm going to use that in little circular motions and then windshield wipers. So we're doing both of those kind of at the same time. You do, just like when we were talking about the bronzer, you want to start with most of the pigment towards the back of the eye and then work it upwards and then forwards. That way it gives you, again, a nice gradient effect with the blending. Another key point is, this might seem like it doesn't do a lot, but my hand, as you can tell, is at the back of the brush because I am currently blending out. If my hand was closer to the front, it's going to be a lot harsher because it's got heavier pressure. So when you're blending, a tip is to make sure that your hand is towards the back of the brush. So again, little circles and then windshield wiper motion just to get that nice and blended out. And you can use this brush two ways, so in this direction or this way, whatever is easiest for you to get that blended effect. And so that is what that is going to look like. And you can take your fluffy brush if you need to, just to make sure there isn't a harsh line, and then go right where your highlight and the pink meet, where you were blending before with that lighter shade, and make sure everything is just blended really smoothly. For the next step, what I'm going to do is the Blood Sugar palette. I told you there was one shade from that one I really liked. We're gonna use this really hot pink shade. This is called Cavity, and I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm only gonna put this on the tip of the brush. So it's not gonna go as far down the brush as the last shade that we use, because I want this to be really concentrated right in the crease. And if you can have a mirror to look down in, if you can see I'm not looking straight on in this mirror, I'm looking down to where I can see more of my lid and more of my lid's exposed. That does help get right in that crease area, and we're just not blending it as far up the eye. So you can see the difference there. It's like subtle, but that's what you want, is to subtly move these things forward when it comes to blending, because you can always add more, but it is hard to take away. So I always recommend starting with a little bit, adding more. And again, this color is just going to be focused right in the crease. It looks just like that. So now to start the cut crease, I'm going to go in with this light. This is more of a shimmery pink. This is called Candy Floss. I'm going to use that on the lid with a flat packing brush, and I'm going to put the tip of the brush here to where I can kind of cut that crease out, and you can see what that looks like versus the other side. Now you can also do this with concealer if you want a more dramatic look, and I'll show you that on the other eye. So if you do want to use a little bit of a concealer to do the cut crease instead, I feel like you can normally put a little bit of concealer like this and then look up, and it will give you, you see right there, it'll give you your guiding line of where that cut crease should be. Then I can go in with my synthetic brush that I use to put my primer on with, pick up a little bit more concealer and connect those lines. So that is typically how I will figure out where the cut crease needs to be. And again, this does clean it up a little bit more. So it gives you a little bit of a harsher cut crease instead of a softer cut crease if that is the look that you are going for. And then I will just drag that out towards the end of my eye. So you can see this is what it looks like with concealer. This is what it looks like softer without the concealer. And since I did the concealer to make this look even, I'm going to just even that out. So same thing, I'm gonna look up. I see where that established my guiding line, and then I'm just gonna connect from the tear duct up and then drag it out. And then I'll just put my eyeshadow right on top of that. So from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with my waterproof eyeliner. I'll link it down below. This is a Korean brand and you can find it pretty much anywhere, but I love this one. It was recommended to me by my friend Star and it works phenomenally. Yes. So we're gonna use that for the eyeliner. And again, I do have more hooded eyes. So when I am trying to establish my winged liner, I look straight into the mirror. And you can either use the guide from your tear duct out, or you can use from the fold of your eye out, whichever you prefer. But also do one smack in the middle, which is what I normally do. And I just drag that straight out. And then once I have that line established, I bring it back, just like this. And you can do the length of the eyeliner however you want it, however thick you want it. And then I'll just connect it from the bottom and then fill it in. So that is your liner. And then I just go along my lash line to keep it a little thinner going towards the front. So I'm gonna do my other eye off camera to save my memory card, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've done my winged liner on both eyes. And actually looking in the viewfinder, I think this one is a little shorter. So we're gonna just extend that out. And then I also added waterproof mascara. This is the Essence Lash Princess in waterproof. And I just did that on the top because we still have some work to do on the bottom. I'm gonna go in with the Makeup Forever Aqua Resistant. This is just an eyeliner pencil. NYX makes a good one as well, but mine is deceased, so I cannot use that one. But it is a good drugstore alternative. And I just do my waterline and then I go up underneath my lashes as well. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. I like the way that it looks, so it is something that I typically do. If you do want your eyes to look more open, you can either skip this step or you can also add a flesh tone color to your waterline. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up my little packing brush and I'm gonna use the tip of it with that cavity color, and I'm going to run that along my lower lash line. And this is why we haven't added mascara underneath just yet. That's bringing that pink further down. Now on a normal everyday occurrence, if I was doing any kind of eye makeup look, I would also do a blending shade down here. However, in my experience with water thus far, the blending shade usually disappears anyways. So now I just skip it altogether. That is what that is gonna look like. And then I'm gonna use that shade again and then go right over where we did the cut crease with the tip of that brush. And this is just going to emphasize that cut crease a little bit more. So again, slight differences, but it is definitely there. That is what adding that does. I love to play with my white eyeliner. So this is the NYX Epic Wear in the white. And what I did for this look originally was I took it right on top of my black eyeliner, like that. And I just feel like this emphasizes and adds a little drama to the look. So I do like to play around with that a lot. The look that I did, I will also usually put a dot on my inner corner. 9 times out of 10, they're not even. I just pray and poke. And then I think that look was the one that I did down the side of my nose I thought was really cute. So just adding those little dots everywhere. You can also add some right in the inner corner if you want to brighten this up. And it just makes it, I feel like, a little bit more pizzazzy. Now I can go in with the mascara Add that. And then what I like to use for my highlighter, I've actually been using this liquid eyeshadow from Juvia's Place, and I dot it down like so, and then I actually use my finger to blend it out. And it gives a nice glow and it does not come off. And then I'll put a little bit on the tip of my nose. She said Rudolph who. Typically I would recommend doing a lip stain before your lipstick. For the sake of this video, this is what I normally use. I used it in my TikTok video, but because I'm talking and I usually have to let this sit for like 15 minutes, I'm not going to use it here today, but I'm going to go in with that lip color that we talked about earlier. And these are really easy to use. So you're just applying the lip color first. I like the applicator, it's a little doe foot, so you can really shape your lips like so. And then we're just going in with the gloss on top that keeps it on. So that is that look. And then now that it's all done, we're going to use our infallible setting spray, and I kind of spray on top and then underneath, and then hit my eyes really quickly so that it doesn't mess with the mascara too much, and let it dry. And then we're going to toss on our crown and our top, and then I'll be back for the closing ceremony of the video. Just add your favorite mermaid crown or tiara that you have and a mermaid top, and you are good to go with your pink Barbie mermaid makeup look. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. Like I said, I will have everything linked, and then let me know what tails you would like to see makeup for next. This series is currently focused on finfolk, so any of the finfolk or Merbella tails that you are interested in seeing a makeup look for, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.